Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crowning It Up with Dadalocks. Your host, Kirigo Kabuga. It is a pleasure to be here. And today's topic is, what is Dadalocks? Well, I am really excited to be able to tell you what it is and tell you where it came from. So let me tell you a little bit about what I've done. Number one, I'm a natural hair expert, and I've been doing natural hair, I would say almost 2 decades now, 2 decades professionally. When I got into this industry personally before my formal years, I used to always, focus on locking hair and all the different types of techniques. I did braids, I did all the good things. I started in Montreal, Canada. And I started from necessity. And the more we look at businesses, we realize like some of the reasons why women start businesses, it's either an opportunity, a necessity, or downright, it's not available. All right. so, so here I am, and this is what I started getting into this industry by default, because when my father from Kenya and mother from Kenya, in fact, I was born in Kenya, raised in Canada. So when we moved to Canada, there was no one that looked like me that could take care of our hair. And prior to that, our hair used to be done almost on a weekly basis when we were in Kenya, because my mother, she's very conservative and she wanted to make sure that her daughters looked presentable. If anytime we were sort of in the midst of their formal meetings, etc. So I actually detested the way we used to get our hair done. So my natural hair journey and my hair story comes from a very young age, where at the age of 8, I decided to cut my hair off because I wanted to rebel and not have to go to the salons on the weekend, because it was a weekend ritual. We got our hair shampooed, then it was cornrowed, or what in Kenya we used to call lines, no extensions, and just basically get a few cornrows and go to school so you could be a child and play and have fun. So we moved to Canada, no one there to take care of our hair. So yours truly begins to start taking care of our hair. And in fact, my grandma is the one who encouraged me to start taking care of my own hairs, because I was so tender-headed. So I took that, and I took that seriously, because I just simply didn't want anyone to touch my hair. So that's how I pretty much sort of my early beginnings of this natural hair journey. And then later discovering that I couldn't even perm my hair. I was devastated when I permed my hair the first time and lost all of my hair. In fact, I ended up going to the hospital on an emergency because I had a horrible reaction to those chemicals that were put in my hair. I had burns, there was pus on my head. Part of my skin was just peeling off. I mean, it was horrible, and it was peeling off with hair in it. And because of that reaction, I had to get my hair cut off immediately. So for one day, I had this long hair that I could swing and move. And it was, instead of like afro that went up to the sky, but it was very short lived. And what came after that was pretty devastating. So my recovery from that, I knew that chemicals was not an option for me. And so I decided to start getting serious about my own natural hair care. And from that, people seeing me and my sister and my cousins, that's how literally I came into this industry. Fast forward, I moved to the United States. I realized, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to work for corporate. Maybe I could just do what I love, what comes naturally to me. And forget about the rest. So that's what I did. So when I moved to the United States, and I met at the time a boyfriend who was then, we got married and had children. I decided to do exactly what I wanted, and I got a lot of support, and I never went back to corporate because I didn't really enjoy corporate. I didn't really, I was it just, I worked in a place where I felt like my values were always being compromised. We worked in a factory, and we had immigrants that worked in the factory in like really tough conditions, and we were upstairs in warm or air conditioned offices that with the life and light and all of that. And I just thought being in the same building, knowing what people were going through downstairs and knowing what we were going through upstairs. And I was happy to be upstairs, but I just felt like something was not right. So, anywho, fast forward, I end up in the natural hair industry. I fall in love with it. It becomes my bread and butter. I become very popular and have a clientele. I own my own business, etc. That business starts feeding into other businesses and so on and so forth. So I feel really blessed in this industry. I've learned a lot. I've also had quite a few failures, lost a lot of money because back in the days when we started, we didn't have Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff that we have today. So we had to be out there like pitching with cards and marketing yourself. And you had to have a backbone because after you pitched all day, you turn around and find your flyers all over the floor. You're like, but we started doing the math that if you give out 100, at least 5 people will call you. And so we trusted that and we went with it. And so the business started building. More to come on that. But fast forward, I become a Sisterlocks master stylist. I bring Sisterlocks, the whole concept of Sisterlocks to Kenya because I find that, oh my goodness, this is the solution my African sisters have been needing, right? I become a brand ambassador for the brand. I try my best to bring training to Africa. It doesn't happen over a decade. Then eventually something pops in prayer and God says, hey, why don't you start something? You know a lot about natural hair, all different types of things, because from color to cut to all of it. I could do weaves, I could do braids, I could do locks. I could do extensions, you name it. But I really fell in love with Sisterlocks and decided to start just focusing on that. And I loved the quality of refined clientele. I love the woman that was choosing to go for the Sisterlocks at that time, especially. A lot of times I started seeing that one thing that was in common, that they were highly educated, they had their own money, they made own decisions, and I'm like, oh, I'm all about women's empowerment, right? And even the idea of taking the training for Sisterlocks, I will share a story later about that because I want to get to what Dadalocks is. But the birth of Dadalocks is through the life and the living of the Sisterlocks and what it did for me. And then I saw what started happening in Africa, that because there was a high demand of this new technique. People became very creative, something I had not considered, right? But my people, oh, they're creative, oh, I don't blame them, oh. However, it was a mess, right? Now people are learning from YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and some of it is not real. It's, you're learning from other people who are also learning. They're not trained themselves, etc. And then it just became a mush. And I realized it wasn't just Kenya this was happening to, it was happening everywhere, including the United States. And then just this incredible misinformation about what small tiny locks are all about, or the Sisterlocks, and how they're done, and and rotations and patterns and so many things. And what was lacking heavily at the time was proper information about the natural hair system and the natural hair as a whole, where I would say Sisterlocks had captured that in its training a very long time ago. So fast forward, when I started seeing the craziness, that I would go back to Kenya and these women would come and be like, is this Sisterlocks? Is this Sisterlocks? Now, everybody and their mama was doing Sisterlocks and they'd never been trained. And some of them were honest. They were like, I learned that on YouTube. Hey, others lied that I trained them. People just start getting really creative. And so I decided to create a system that, one, stood on very strong core values, which was Dadalocks, right? I created this trademark system in Africa for Africans to learn, one, to know that this business needed to be conducted in honesty, being honest about what we were doing, being in integrity, right? even when nobody was looking, you were doing the right thing. And the other thing was acceptance, right? Really accepting our natural hair and its needs, and accepting the conditions in which we were meeting people in, with the misinformation and all the confusion that was coming from people who didn't know whether it was sister locks or micro locks, and all the mumble jumble that was happening. And so we at Studio 28 decided to start streamlining and educating the customer. What would make us different is to empower and educate. And we would educate through consultations, through our advertisements, through our postings, through our phone calls when they call the front desk. Every opportunity was an opportunity to educate, right? The proper systems and what should be done first and second and third. And so we created now this Dadalock system. And what was different from it, with like no other natural hair system, is that it is tied with a coaching, a business coaching element to it, right? So there's the technique and forming interlocks and understanding that, and the curl, the natural textures and how to manage them. And then there was also relationships. People, like, one of the biggest things that I was hearing in between is like poor relationships or underdeveloped relationships with people taking care of their hair or rendering services versus how they were treating their customers. So I knew right away that that was another aspect that was not being handled in any natural hair training that I had come across. And so I decided, because that's important to me, I decided to add that, because part of the culture of Dadalocks is community and how we support and commit to the process, right? So standing on our core pillars, our core values, and those are the pillars on how we were going to conduct business, right? And moving along, we started seeing what Dadalock started doing for some of the women that we worked with, that those that were actually trained, and we were looking specifically for moms, even single moms, anybody who we knew that if we invested in their training, that they would either learn to bring the scholarship back so that we move that scholarship forward to another woman, and just to see how it impacted the individual, from how they started showing up, how they started looking, how they started feeling, the level of confidence, how they started committing to locking their own hair, right? Without us saying, hey, because people started wondering, well, Kirigo, do you ask all these girls to start locking their hair? No, it's just that when they're around it enough, they just feel really good about it. And just the vibe, it's just a great community, and one that allows us freedom like, natural hair freedom like we've never known it to be before, right? So not only does it do that, those who train with us experience financial freedom. They do things differently. Their children go to better schools. They move their parents to better neighborhoods. They themselves move out of crisis situations. We have a woman who was being sexually abused being at her sister's. And because she was able to get this training and started making enough money to get her own place, she was able to get away from a place like that. So impacting women in a way that they can change their circumstances financially, because it's the only way. In order for us to make change in the world, it requires finances, it requires money. And this is a way that we saw that we could make a difference. So fast forward, in 2023, we trademarked the brand, and now we're ready to come out. Our training material is incredible. We have people who are traveling to Nairobi to get this training. We are hoping to see this training move across the continent of Africa. We have Nigeria on the map. We have Zambia on the map. We have South Africa on the map. We have Tanzania is already on the map. And we're so excited, and we can't wait to see it growing. And so the idea is, as many women that can afford the training, we're going to take a certain percentage from each training and build a scholarship to get it to bless another woman, right? And even that woman who trains, her job and goal is to also raise capital once she starts making the money, to forward to build back some of that scholarship, so that we can make that scholarship move forward to another woman, right? And so the more that we can get this, and so in the future, we hope that lucrative brands will want to partner with us to make a difference in women's lives. We know that when you educate a woman, you really are impacting an entire community. And so that's what we want to see. We have the proof. We have seen it. We're not only just throwing this out there, we've actually studied this in the last 7 years. And so we've trained some women, and we've seen how by impacting them and coaching them, we see how they actually give back. They make the money, they start changing even in their appearance and their confidence, and they give back to the pot so that you can make the way forward for another woman. And that's the way we want to grow. That's the way we want to be able to make a difference. And it takes one woman to change another woman's life, and collectively we can keep doing this and grow it to exponentially. Okay, so that's what Dadalocks is. And so the coaching material really takes us through how we start our training. It's a 4-day training, and it's 4-day physically, and then it continues for almost 90 days. Okay, so what happens is that we get together and we do the training. In the training on the first day, you're given all your challenges. You have to find a client. You have to source someone who you're going to have to bring into class on the last day of your presentation. Your advertisement. We look at social media. We look at our framework, which is called Crowning It Up. We look at that to help women identify where the weakness is and then we show them the action steps that they need to take. We talk about what it is to be a crown up queen, and that's a woman who has strong self-care practices, who understands the business of scaling, and is all about refinement, where she's always investing in her education yearly. Because if you know what I know, when you learn more, you earn more. And that's a fact, y'all, seriously. And from that, we talk about the 3 pillars that will build the business. And that's knowing your identity through social media and how to connect with your audiences, and the number of times you should be connecting with your audiences. Even what are the messages? So we look at what the problem is and come up with 30 different solutions. And that's used for social media. Another thing that we look at is what we call the space, right? The source, the real source where the money's coming from. So the space where you attend to your clients, how does it look? Is it inviting? Is it warm? Is it bright? Does it scream home for your dream clients, right? Does it smell good? What are the elements? What are the things that you need in your space? And some of them are definitely lighting, communication tools with your clients, visibility so that the client can make it all the way to the chair, hopefully a shampoo bowl so that you can offer different services. There's a lot of home-based businesses that don't offer that, but what we do is that we're here for expansion. That is not enough. Offering just a retightening is not enough, and it's just a minimal basis of your business. We're looking for expansion, getting out of your comfort zone, offering more so you can make more. And that's how business works, right? And also to keep those clients, because if they find out somebody else is offering more, that's how we get a lot of clients who come to us. Once they find out that we're a full service, they're like, oh, well, I can't go to the other person anymore because they're not offering all of these things that you guys are offering. And so what we do is in Dadalocks is talk about growing the business in that way, in that kind of mindset. We teach our participants to really observe their current mindset. And a lot of times, most of the people are starting off with a fixed mindset, meaning that's a mindset that is really rigid, is resistance. So sometimes when we say, okay, this week we want you guys to time yourself on your mannequin head, you'll notice like in a class of 10, maybe 1 will do it. And then we just remind them that's that fixed mindset that's playing on you. You need to recognize that, and you need to take another action step to push past that. Sometimes the solution is therapy. The problem that one is going through might be way beyond us. But what we do is that we do connect our students and our participants with support if they needed to seek therapy or a coach. and something that is outside of us, but we're willing to support them. And we also make those recommendations because some of us are coming with a lot of baggage, right? And this baggage is constantly blocking us from advancing in life. It's just so heavy on our minds, heavy on our hearts, that it doesn't allow us to take the next action steps to move towards building a business. Um, so the other thing too that we also do is on the framework, the third pillar in that framework is that refinement, investing in yourself, knowing your value and constantly investing in yourself so that you can learn. Last year, I invested about 30 grand. It is the highest I have ever paid in anything, but it was the most rewarding training that I've ever had. And it's taken my coaching level to the next level. And I'm really excited to see what it's already doing for me. And it was worth the investment. And again, like I said, when you learn more, you earn more. And that's a fact. I'm not just saying it. Yeah, it is what it is. And so encompassing, understanding the three things it takes for an entrepreneur to really be focusing on a regular basis, and then the three pillars that you must push your business to. And those are the areas that you spend your time year after year, refining, growing, improving systems. A lot of times, sometimes we need to do surveys and just find out where you are from the customers that you're serving and allow them to guide your business growth, because we believe that especially with our coaching program, we believe that we want you to spend the time where you're going to receive results, because sometimes we're spending $5,000 on a website and we don't even have the first customer. How do you know how to solve a problem? And in running our businesses, one of the things that we teach our data lockers is the idea of what problem will you be solving, right? Understand the problem that you're solving in your community, because that's also going to help on how you advertise and how you talk about the services that you render. So that's Dadalocks in a nutshell. As you could tell, it's a whole lot. It's in its baby steps, but we are excited about the future of Dadalocks. We are excited about the future of Africa, and we're excited about a system that is going to impact women and children across the globe simply by learning new skills and new tips on how to run businesses. And as long as you've got the hands and you've got the mind and the will, I guarantee that you will be able to receive the returns on your investment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now that's what Dadalocks is. Now, if you have any other questions on Dadalocks, please feel free to ask the questions and the posts on the comments below. Thank you so much. And tune in to the next episode as we crown up with Dadalocks. Yours truly, Kirigo, your host of the day.